Welcome to Holistic Human Performance Podcast. My name is Gena Bradshaw, where we talk all things holistic health, wellness, spirituality, fitness, meditation, energetics, and so much more to help you become the healthiest version of yourself. Let's dive in. This is not medical advice. This is simply to help you on your journey through health, fitness, and wellness. I hope this helps. You can complement this with anything that you are doing currently in your life. Enjoy. Hey guys, Gena here, and I am so excited to announce that the Holistic Human Performance Virtual Wellness Center is officially launched. Yep, that's right. We've officially launched. And this is like having a holistic health and energy coach in your back pocket. If you need a 5-minute reset, okay, great. What do we have? You need breath work. Okay, great. You need a little bit of mobility flow, nutrition coaching. Great. You can access all of these on-demand videos and self-paced digital courses for a 5-day free trial. That's right. I'm giving this to you guys for a 5-day free trial so you can try it out, see if you like it, see if it works for you, and see if it actually is conducive to your lifestyle and it helps you to create change. It is literally like having me in your back pocket. So again, I'm giving you this for a 5-day free trial. Head on over to holistichumanperformance.co and get your free trial today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Holistic Human Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Gena Bradshaw, and today we have a very special guest. We have Joshua Bloom with us today. He is a best-selling author, and I have this book right here. The ultimate answer is inside. So if you guys are on YouTube, you could check out the cover here. Teaching empaths and intuitives to harness their innate quantum powers to become limitless. Oh, I'm so excited to take such a deep dive into this. Not only that, he's the creator of Quantum Energy Transformation and founder of Quantum Energy Center. Without further ado, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here because I know we're going to get really into it.
Yes, absolutely. And it's really interesting because a lot of people in my life who have been coming into my life as of late are really diverse in the topic of quantum healing. So I'm really excited to dive in with you because this is your thing. And, to start off, why don't you introduce yourself, what you do, who you are, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, my name is Joshua Bloom, and I help empaths rock their life to make that negative experience that they typically experience, that part where they can feel everything and sense everything and be overwhelmed and maybe have some anxiety. And that used to be my life too, until I found Quantum Energy Transformation and these pendants that I'm wearing that have literally taken me from just sort of like this major anxiety-ridden person to like a person who can rock their life and help other people do the same.
Love that. So let's talk about Joshua before learning about quantum energy healing and all the modalities. You explain this in the beginning of your book, the type of person that you were. And I want to take a deep dive because I see this a lot. Those who have maybe like experiences when they're like children, they turn it off and then they just kind of detach themselves from, their own energy, their body, spirituality, energetics, and it causes physical issues and ailments in the body, symptoms, and, such like anxiety. So why don't you talk about a little bit about your story and kind of what led you up to learning all the amazing modalities and discoveries that you've brought to life?
Well, like you said, when I was a kid, I was sensing a lot of things. I
Mm.
didn't know because we don't get a book that says, hey, you're like intuitive or you're an empath or you're a light worker or anything like that. We don't get anything. And then, of course, the parents that I had were like Judge Judy and Judge Wapner. So very, very strict and, to the rules kind of people.
Mm.
And so here I am, this very sensitive young child at the time, and things would happen and I couldn't explain them. So for example, I'd be in my basement, just that was my playroom when I was a kid, and maybe not the best idea for a sensitive child to make the basement your playroom, but it was. And so i'm playing in the um I'm playing in the playroom downstairs in the basement, and I hear someone call my name. And, my parents are upstairs on the other side of the house. I don't understand how they could be calling my name
Hmm.
because they're not. And I got really scared of that. I got scared that somebody was calling my name. And because of that, um, I realized it was entities many years later, but I didn't know then. So when I heard somebody calling my name, I ran upstairs.
Yeah.
So it was very, very scary to have this kind of experience. And then I have other experiences like taking the garbage out. That was my job when I was a kid. I had to
Mm.
go and take the garbage out. It was dark outside, and in the dark I could see things. That was the problem. So the dark always scared me. I lived
Mm.
with a nightlight when I was a kid forever because in the dark, I could see things like when my babysitter would babysit for me, and I was a little kid, and I would freak out because something was in my closet. The boogeyman lives there. And for me, the boogeyman was real.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
was actually seeing the boogeyman, and I was seeing the stuff as a child, these ghosts and entities and stuff. I was seeing them, and it was scaring me. So of course the babysitter would come into my room. What would she do? She'd open up the door and say, see, nothing's in there. I'm like, I know the light is on. As soon as you leave, the boogeyman's coming back. And so it was really scary for me as a child, and I didn't know how to deal with that
Mm.
because it was just overwhelmingly fearful because I didn't know what I was seeing. And of
Right.
course, I tried to make sense of it because that's what we do. So I said, oh, like on my desk where I saw something, maybe it's my shirt. Maybe it's not like a face. Maybe the face is coming from the shirt, because I would see faces and things like that.
Mm.
So it was really scary as a kid, and realizing it wasn't the shirt. I was seeing things that most people don't see, and it was really scaring me. And so I grew up, and things actually were great. I left the house, went to college, and after I went to college, I came back home and then went to Washington, D.C. And I
Mm.
lived there near my brother for several years. And during that period of time, I got very anxious. All of a
Mm.
sudden, I just began to feel anxious, so anxious that I thought the anxiety itself would eventually kill me. It
Wow.
felt that fearful. Yeah, it was bad. And so I didn't know how to deal with this because, of course, you don't have a book that teaches you, oh, when you get anxious, this is what you do. So
Hmm.
I had to create my own modality.
Right.
I created quantum energy transformation to really help myself remove this anxiety. And I did really well with it. It was great. But little did I know I was experiencing anxiety because of entities.
Mm.
And for 10 years, I was being attacked by entities. I had no idea that this was the case. And I just thought I was going crazy. And I thought that I could just do my best to remove this anxiety because I couldn't see the entities. Now, remember, I turned off all of this when I was a kid. So I would stop hearing people calling my name and I would stop feeling these scary things. So that's why things got better for me as a child because I just turned off my intuition. And that
Mm.
was the easiest thing to do at the time. And it made sense. But then I turned everything off and then I just was anxious but couldn't see anything.
Now you're feeling everything.
Now I'm feeling everything and I'm really feeling it strongly. And it
Yeah.
was kind of scary. So
Yeah.
after all of that, I moved back to New York City.
Okay.
And when I was in New York City, I started to feel better. Things were better, but I was still getting entity attacks here and there. Finally, a friend of mine, when I was making my movie, The Ultimate Answer is Inside, starring Dr. Bruce Lipton, when I was making that movie, this person who was also in my movie told me, Joshua, you have entities. And I'm like, no, come on. This is like, movie stuff. You see that in the movies. It's all pretend, all that.
Right.
Whatever you're telling me, that sounds like, I don't know, my BS meter came up a bit,
Yeah.
telling me like, this doesn't sound right. And she says, well, you have a choice. I can release those entities from you and you wouldn't have them, or you could keep the entities. What do you want to do? And I felt either choice really sucked for me. Like, what is she going to do to me?
Right.
Like,
Right.
Like, what does it mean to get rid of them? I didn't
So have you,
this.
just to pause for a second here, have you ever experienced, like, I'm assuming she was talking about like an energy healing of some sort. Like, have you ever experienced that beforehand up to that point, or this was like a whole new world for you?
The entity thing was a whole new world for me because it
Mhm.
wasn't a healing thing. It was
Mhm.
an entity removal thing. Where
Oh, I
she
see. I see.
detaches the entities from me,
Okay.
and therefore they're no longer attached.
Mhm.
Well, that was life altering. When she took the entities away from me, I stopped being scared and anxious and I started to be a normal person again. So that
Yeah.
was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But entities like me too much. They're like, Joshua,
It's your open energy.
I have such good energy. I guess
Yeah.
they just want to like, oh, let's just plummet it. So when they would come near me, these entities, I would feel scared. And at this point, I started to realize I could start to see and feel these entities. Now I know what's going on. It's this entity stuff that was happening for me that was really making me feel, crazy and out of sorts and overwhelmed and all those negative things that you feel when you don't know what's going on. But I was starting to realize what was really happening. So I learned from the same lady who was in my movie how to release them for myself because I was getting attacked right and left and all that stuff. So I released them for myself. So that was really awesome. I was able to release them. And while I was in New York, it was pretty good until I moved to New Jersey. And I don't know what's about New Jersey, but we got meaner entities here or something. But it got really bad. It got so bad, it was like that 10-year streak of entities that I was dealing with then. It was like that all over again and but up the ante, like worse.
Yeah.
So I was feeling really badly. I was clearing them every day, but they would get me. And then I would have to clear them. And then I would have to there's an aftermath when you have this entity attack for like 3 days, 4 days, you're feeling like you're recovering from it. Yeah. But if they get you again in between that, even though I could clear them, it didn't matter because they've already got me. So it was a battle, and it got really, really bad about 3 years ago. It got really, really bad. And I really didn't like the level of life I was having because my life was releasing entities. That's not a life. That's not good. So then I got the pendants. My spirit guides who opened up to me about 3 years ago, they opened up to me and says, hey, Joshua, you need to make this pendant. And I'm like, okay. And I did. I made this pendant called the QET Classic.
I'm wearing it right now. I love it.
Isn't it awesome?
It's great.
The QAT pendant is made of selenite and other crystals that work in superposition of each other. So it's really an energy tool, not crystals. It's crystalline energy, but now it's working in a different way.
Right. So it's very intentional the way that it was made.
Oh, very intentional. Very intentional. I didn't realize how intentional it was until I put it on. And when I put it on, it raised my trust level 75%. So when your trust level drops, that's when you get anxious. When we have that lack of trust. When we trust fully, or at least close to fully, we feel calm and relaxed and everything is good. So you can imagine when the entities were around how much my trust level would drop. So it raised the trust level. It stopped entities from attaching to me. So I didn't have to work at it. Entities weren't coming near me. It's like, bug spray for entities, right? So you wear the pendants, and then all of a sudden the entities stopped attacking me. And I'm like, that's what a relief. It was life altering. And the pendant does so much more. It grounds you. It
Mm.
makes you feel stable and good. It takes all of the empathic problems and then it makes you feel like you have superpowers.
Mm.
And that really was interesting because I didn't realize that when I got triggered. Have you ever gotten triggered before?
Oh my God, so many times.
Well, when you get triggered, I would, I'm like the king of being triggered. If you trigger me, it could take a couple hours to release that trigger. And it feels
Mm.
so bad. It feels uncomfortable. Like it's like being in fear for hours. It just
Mm.
really is bad. Sometimes it's been up to 8 hours at a time when I get triggered. Now it's like 2 minutes. So I'm wearing the pendants. The pendants know me. They know my energy and they release the triggers as they come up.
Mm.
So I don't have to work so hard at
Mm.
releasing them. Now, if I were to work with a client, which I do all the time, I work with somebody, I got this.
Mm.
I'm my worst client.
Aren't we all?
I work with, aren't we all? Exactly. So when I work, when I work with myself, it's not as easy because it's a different perspective than working with somebody else.
Mm.
It's their stuff. That doesn't trigger me. It's their stuff. So easy for me to show them how to get around that, move the energy and shift it for themselves. That's easy.
Mm.
But for myself, you're sitting in that energy for hours and hours and hours, but no more. With the pendants, they release it for me. And in 2 minutes, I'm back to living my life and doing the things that I love to do rather than spending time clearing those triggers or clearing entities or all those things that were really bringing me down. Now I'm thriving. Many
Mm.
years ago, I said to myself, if I could be at a place where I would have more than 10% of myself available, I'd be like amazing. So I guess this is the time. So I've come to the point now that I've reached a place where I've released so much because I've been
Mm.
doing this now for like 20, 23 years.
Mm.
So I've released all of the stuff that I need to release. And of course, stuff still comes up, but how I deal with it today is a totally different me than how I was dealing with it like 10 years ago.
That's beautiful. And you also created like a whole, I guess, genre of like this healing modality. So let's talk about that. So let's talk about the quantum energy transformation and what you speak about in your book. And like what does that entail? Actually, let's even take it back. Let's define for people, what does quantum even mean? Let's talk about that. Because you break it down also in the book, and I want the listeners to have that baseline, that foundation of what we're talking about.
Well, quantum energy transformation is the science of letting go.
Mm.
It's also the science of possibility, which is really exciting.
Mm.
So, what we do in quantum energy transformation is we move the energy at the cellular level of the body to create what I call a quantum shift, which means
Mm.
that the energy that's there in the cells, it releases, it leaves, and it transforms, and it becomes either something better, like a higher frequency, or it releases and leaves the body altogether. Either
Mm.
one is a good thing because if it's now like upped its energy level and become a good thing. So if it was depression, it would be down here. And then if it's like total awesomeness and happiness is up here,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So it's the same energy. It just got transformed into something else, or it leaves. And if it's not there, it's not going to cause you those feelings. So imagine me many, many years ago when I was feeling anxious and this fire energy of fear was
Mm.
like killing me. And I was
Yeah.
dealing with all of that angst that when I learned to move the energy at the cellular level of the body, I could release it. I could let it out so that it was no longer pushing my buttons, so to speak.
Right. Right.
That's what it is. Very simple.
That's really what you discuss here too, is like the simplicity of it, where it's not this whole like song and dance. It's like, all right, what's the root here? Let's get down to it. And I am all about the metaphysical way of healing. And, these things we are not taught. We're not taught this as children unless you grow up in a family where that's part of the lifestyle. Your parents, your guardians, whoever is taking care of you. And that was something that they learned and they knew to, they've kind of like broken the cycle and they bring it into the family. However, I can't even tell you how many clients, and I'm sure you'll say the same, students, clients are talking about anxiety and how it just overwhelms their entire life. And, when I start talking to them and they're telling me, number one, their lifestyle and kind of like the environment they're living in. And number two, kind of, what their, I guess, traumas and triggers and things like that are. And they just have no clue about energy, the human energy system. And you're like, oh, yeah, like this is a missing puzzle piece that you actually need to learn about because it's a game changer. It is phenomenal. And you talk about actually the Newtonian model, which do you want to briefly just talk about that a little bit this is kind of like, I guess you could say I don't want to use the word brainwashing, but it's just, it's something that we've been so stuck on for so long. And that's kind of like the only thing that we, as a society kind of like, I guess you could say hold on to. But let's talk about the Newtonian model and kind of like where we're shifting in today's society.
Well, the Newtonian model is the same model as the religious model, the parenting model, the model in which we have with hospitals and doctors and that kind of thing.
Right.
It's all the same model. It's just in different experiences of that same model. So basically, I'm the boss and you're not kind of
right.
model, right?
Right.
Or someone else is the boss and we're not is probably a better way to say that. Right? Because that's how it is. And you go to the doctor, what do? You wait in the waiting room, sometimes even 4 hours before they'll even take you. And it's like, that's the model. So the model of quantum, in the way that I've created it, is a way to allow a no rules approach, allowing it to be not a protocol or a strategy driven process. So, when you take a course or a program, you typically go through the strategies of things. Okay, well, the first step to do this is this. And the second step, well, that's that. And the third step, well, that's this. And the fourth step, and so on and so on and so on until you're done with the strategy of what you're being taught. The problem with that is that when you're working at a step-by-step basis, a strategy level, you are limited to what is capable of that particular step-by-step process or strategy. So, for example, if you were going to first do one thing and then do another and then do another, what if that person doesn't need that? But the protocol says you have to do it. do you see what I mean? So the person doesn't need it, but the protocol says you need to have that. So we do it because the protocol says to do it. I do things because the client needs it, not because the protocol says to do it.
Right.
So it becomes a very different thing. The other thing is when we're talking about strategies, we're rarely talking about energy. Energy doesn't move in strategies. Energy moves through the body in its own way, in its own experience. It knows how to unwind itself. You have an intelligence of your entire body, and your body knows this is the way it needs to unwind. If you do this, you do this. Have you ever had something get really tangled and you have to like untangle it?
Yeah.
So it could take forever. But if you allow the body to do what it knows how to do, the body knows how to untangle it. So the body says, wait a second, I got you. I'm going to untangle it for you. If you give it that opportunity, the body will untangle your issues. It will weave through the difficult stuff easily and transform it for you. It's so important that what I teach and what I do is simple and safe. Those are the two things that are key for me. It's got to be simple. Many years ago when I had this anxiety and I went to people for help, they have very complicated protocols and processes.
Yeah.
When you're in a place that you have already had it, you've already been through the ringer, you already don't have a functioning ability. You're just not functioning. You're just, trying to survive.
Yeah, you're just surviving at that point.
It's rough. In that place, if someone wants to do something complicated, forget it. Right. I'm not able or capable to do that in that place of being. So as I learned, we've got to keep it simple, because when it's simple, anyone can do it, even if you're exhausted, even if you're overwhelmed, even if you've had it, you can get to it. And that's exactly what I did. I learned to move things, the energy at the cellular level of the body easily. And it's powerful when you do. And so when we think about the Newtonian model, we think about the rules and the systems and the way you must do it through protocols and strategies. When you think of quantum, you do what the client needs. You break the rules. You go and do what is necessary for that person. So it's very individualized, very powerful.
And that's a really key point. Individualized. Like every single person is different. You're different from me. I'm different from this person.
Exactly.
So it's like fitting a square peg in a round hole.
Exactly. People do it all the time. And they're like, but that's how you're supposed to do this or whatever. It's not what the body wants. The body wants simple, easy, and powerful, even profound, but it doesn't want to have you figure things out. When we get into our head, we try to figure out what the problem is. Listen, we don't know what the problem is, or we would have solved it already.
Right.
We don't have no idea what the problem is. So the energy knows. The energy of your body knows what the problem is. So we allow the energy to present. We allow the energy to move. We allow the energy to release and transform, creating a quantum shift in the moment. And that's another thing about quantum that's different. Most everything else that's strategy based is done through what's called incremental change. That's like yoga. That's like acupuncture. And not that those things are right or wrong or good or bad, because they're not. It's just incremental. You do it today, you come back in 3 days, you do it again, or yoga, maybe you have to do it every day or at least 3 or 4 days a week. It takes 3 years to get anywhere in the modality of yoga, because you have to practice it and incrementally get better, even energetically, to be able to reach a certain level in yoga.
Right.
So that's a lot. I don't know, but that's not for me. I'm not that patient. I'm not that patient. So evolutionary change, that's what quantum is. Evolutionary change is it happens in the moment right now. The change is now, not change in time, change in the moment. There is no time in a quantum field. So the time that you're experiencing it is the moment that you're in.
I love that.
And yummy, right?
Yeah, because listen, every field is saturated, but you go into, you're in a state of vulnerability, right? They're not all the time honest people that are doing this kind of work. And, you might get steered off the path, and listen, like everything in divine timing, but like, why not just get down to the nitty gritty so you don't have to carry the baggage along with you? And you made there were 2 points in your book that I was like, yes. The first one was generational trauma and also past life. I mean, personally, I believe in that, but I think it's worth speaking about because, again, it's like the soul's evolution. Like our soul remembers that, our body feels it, but consciously, which is 5% of the time, we're just like, no, I can't see it. I don't believe it. But I think it's a very valid point to go into about this topic, because like I even bring that up with my clients and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yes, please trust me. Like we have to take a deeper dive into this. So talk about how you kind of like intertwine that, I guess, with your clients and kind of like your students and people you are in contact with, basically. How do you kind of like break that down or incorporate that?
Well, we look at things as to where they're located. So, for example, where is the trauma located in the first place? Did it happen in this lifetime? Did it happen because you got a generational gift from your parents? Did it happen because it happened in the womb? So I actually do something I created called age clearing that allows you to actually get to all the places in which energy lives that you're still responding to. And it's so powerful. It's so powerful to realize that you can get to this energy that's there. And we do it through many means, but in my certification program, we use age clearing, and it clears not only every age, but all the energies that are stuck in those ages, because it logs into your system, into your body energetically in order. So if this happened first, this is where it is. The second, third, fourth, fifth. It happens in order, but where it's located is not in an order. Sort of like a card catalog and the library, right? So, for example, if you go to the library and you look in the card catalog, now we look on the computer, but you look at where it's located, and then you go find the book, right? So whether you're looking at the computer or the card catalog, you're going to the place, the map, to say, where is it? And then you go and you find it, and it's located over there. The way that we do it is we notice, where do you feel it in your body? So the card catalog or the computer that's looking for where the book is located, that's a sense we get in the body. We feel it, and then we know, oh, I feel that in my stomach, or I feel that in my chest, or I feel it in my arm, or I feel it in my back, or I feel it in my legs. You can feel it anywhere. And when you feel that energy, you then invite that energy to move. And so it moves so nicely. So where it's located is really, really key. So sometimes things are located in a past life or even in the womb. I've had lots of experiences where people would have information stored in the womb. I remember many, many years ago, probably like 20 some odd years, I was in a class that I wasn't actually teaching, but the teacher asked me to help this lady because she knew that I knew something. And so she said, could you help her? Because I've done what I can do. Maybe you could do something that would help. And I said, absolutely. So what I did was I said, let's go into the womb of when you were a little baby, let's go there. And so I took her there, and she was very analytical. So she was like, nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. And I'm like, I totally get it, but could you just stay with the process, trust in the process, trust in yourself that you can get there, and we're going to do this together. And she said, okay. And so I have her getting into her body, getting her into her strength. And then all of a sudden, she starts to cry, and the energy starts to move. And she realized in that moment that her mother hated her. Yep. And she released it, though. So here's the thing. She's been living with it, not knowing what the reason was, or that she had an issue with her mother, not knowing any of this until that moment. So in the moment when it released, she got the insight, oh, my mother hated me and didn't want me. And she got that. But then she was able to resolve it, release it out of the system so that it was not there. And she wasn't carrying that along her life anymore, who she became, because her identity shifted now. Now she's not connecting that unconscious idea that she didn't know what it was before, but it was a feeling that was kind of horrible about her mom. And she just didn't know what it was, but now she knows what it is, and she no longer cares because she moved the energy at the root of the problem, and it shifted so beautifully. I think it took like 3 minutes. It wasn't very long. And then it was done. And her life changed beyond measure in that moment right then.
Wow.
So that's incredible. A good example of how you find out where things are located. So if it's located in the womb, could it be located in a past life? Absolutely. I do past life work all the time. I look at past life work as a way of finding that location of where it is. But I also look at, when we think about a past life, it's a really great metaphor too, right? The metaphor of, oh, this isn't a young thing. It's a very early thing. Happened before I was even born. So if we think of it from a time perspective, right? All time is happening right now in the quantum field, right? Everything is happening now, and it's just a different layer of time. is a
Mm.
past life. So whether somebody believes in past lives or whether they don't, it's okay with me. I personally believe in past lives because of the work that I do, and I can see how things are stored in past lives and what's come up in sessions about people's experiences in past lives. But you don't have to believe in past lives in order to experience the work. So that's kind of cool too.
That is really cool. I'm so intrigued. Um, so I had a question and it slipped my mind. Oh, this is my question. So as an intuitive, right? Everyone's different, but what kinds of experiences do you, I guess, go through when you are working with a client? Is it like all of the above, like tasting, smelling, seeing, hearing, or have you just kind of, what kind of like experience do you get when you work with clients? I know everyone is different, but I'm just curious.
Well, I have a lot of different experiences from different people
Hmm.
because of who I am and the level in which the gifts have come to me from being who I am.
Hmm.
I am a, I guess you can say that I'm an intuitive, but I'm what you would call an indigo.
Mm.
So I'm a little bit older than the indigo children that people label as indigo children. So I call myself an indigo. Also, I'm not a child anymore, so I call myself indigo. Makes sense, right? So I'm an indigo master, which I came before the indigos came. And I'm a forerunner. So I'm here to help people in exactly with what I'm doing.
Mm.
It found me. I didn't, you don't wake up and when you're a kid and say, oh, I'm going to be a healer.
Right.
Doesn't work
Right.
like that. So because of I'm an indigo, I have many abilities that I didn't know I had until fairly recently
Mm.
because of the opening, the expansion of myself as I evolve through time
Right.
in this lifetime. And so there was one time that I had an experience that was really extraordinary. There was a woman, young woman, she's about 18 years old, and her mother was helping her because she had a speech issue. When she would speak, what came out wasn't what she was thinking. It was disconnected in some way.
Mm.
And so I was talking with her and her mom. And what was really great when I work with her, she was like totally right to the energy. So different than most people, she didn't have any issue getting to the energy of things. So we were moving energy and it was fabulous.
Mm.
But then we had a conversation to share with her mom what we had accomplished together. And so because the woman couldn't speak clearly, I started to automatically hear what she was saying, feel what she was trying to convey without her saying anything. So instead of her trying to, in a very difficult way, communicate to her mom, hey, this is what we did and this is how it went. And I started to talk and I started to realize I'm telling her mother
Wow.
what she's saying without her saying it out loud. So
Wow.
energetically, she's communicating with me. And this was an amazing, I'm like, I didn't know this is possible. I didn't know I could do it either. So her mother was in awe after the session. It was just amazing. I was like saying something and then I would say something and said, oh, she didn't like what I just said. Because I could feel it. And it was like, oh, interesting. So I'm getting like yes and no answers. I'm getting information to share with her mom. And I know that I'm sharing what she's really wanting to say. And that was
Wow.
such a powerful experience. So that's like one example of a million.
Right.
I've also had the experience of helping people and I can feel where their problem is. I can say, oh, so this is located here or it's located there. We want to move this. They might not be able to feel it, but I can. And then I guide them through the release and then they can release it because now they know where it's located, but they wouldn't know where it's located.
Mm.
All different things. Lots of intuitions came to me. I had an intuition to ask this question. This lady had fibromyalgia. I didn't
Okay.
know what it was. This was like 20 some odd years ago, and I didn't know anything about fibromyalgia. I didn't know, I thought she was speaking a different language. You know, I was like, fibromyalgia, what? What are you saying? So fibromyalgia is when you have pain in the legs and your
Mm.
body feels really heavy, you can't sleep, and it's a lot of pain.
Mhm.
And it's actually a root chakra issue also.
Yeah.
And so uh, when I started to work with her, I just had this intuition to ask her this question. And I said, so when did you notice that you had a problem? Not when the doctor said it. When did you feel you had this?
Yeah.
And when I asked her that question, she was standing at the time. She sat down and then she started to cry. Now, mind you, I'm a newbie at this. And,
Yeah.
when someone starts to cry, you're like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
What am I going to do now? Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I sat down with her, and I've been with people who were crying before. It wasn't my first time, but I was still fairly new. And I just held her hands, and we just did this together. And she started to move the energy in the quantum experience that I was taking her through.
Mm.
And then she looked at me and she said, "It left my body." And I'm thinking, who is she talking to?
I have full body
I'm like,
chills.
what do you mean it left your body? She said, I can feel it. The fibromyalgia left my body. Now, a moment before that, like literally, because it only took 4 minutes to do this, in 4 minutes. So she said just a few minutes ago that this is an incurable syndrome.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so, so I'm like, I don't get this. So in my mind, because now I'm in my head saying, what is she saying to me? Am I the crazy one or is she the crazy one? I'm not really sure. So she said it left her body. And of course, I wanted to honor her experience because what do I know? So I hold her hands and I'm saying, oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, when she came in to see me, she was literally dragging her foot behind her.
Oh, wow.
Like it was dragging. When she left, she wasn't. And that's what got me to realize something did really change in that moment because she was not walking completely normal, but she wasn't dragging her foot anymore. She was actually walking out, not like dragging.
Yeah.
Right? Very different experience. And so I thought that was really, really powerful. So then she called me the next day
Oh
to
my
tell
gosh.
me how grounded she felt, how powerful she felt. And she explained the experience and what it was like. And she says, this is awesome. And I said, great. Would you give me a testimonial? And she said, no. And I'm like, okay, well, glad that I could help you and keep in touch. And she did. A month later, she came to me without no announcement. She just walked in my office.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, Joshua, I don't do this. I said, what do you mean? She said, I don't give testimonials. That's like one of my rules. I said, okay. She says, well, I don't give them because anybody could have any kind of an experience. You can't, just because it may have worked for me doesn't mean it may work for somebody else. So I don't give testimonials for that reason. She said, but I thought about it. And she said, if this could help just one person, it would be worth my time to write it and just share my experience. And she did. And she shared that she went to, I think it was Italy with her husband.
Mm.
And she was walking, or she was walking with her husband, throughout Italy. And as she was walking, she was realizing, actually, I'm sorry, I think it was Paris. I messed up. It's Paris. I was like, I don't think it's Italy. Okay, got it. It's Paris. She was walking through Paris and her husband had planned the next day to go on his own because he knew she'd be in bed sleeping because fibromyalgia, she'd be in bed. She wouldn't be able to get out, to be too much pain, all that. So he planned his own day, but she got up the next day. And they went walking again in Paris. And they did that every single day, even though he planned every single day to have his own plan. He didn't need his own plan. They did it together the entire honeymoon. It was like a second honeymoon for them.
That's awesome.
And she said, this is how I knew I was healed, she said, was because every single day I was able to get up out of bed and enjoy this honeymoon in a very, very different way than I ever expected I'd be able to enjoy it. And she said that was a miracle.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. I love hearing stories like this because number one, it gives other people hope. Number two, it's like you can heal your body. You absolutely can. It's just a matter of being like asking God, source, universe, whatever you want to put in there to open you up and just surrender and allow those people, places, things, books to fall off shelves to help you and put you in contact with what you need. And that is just beautiful. And I think more people need to hear things like this because just because you are diagnosed with something doesn't mean that it's going to be incurable, and the, or, because I talk about cancer a lot, cancer doesn't have to be a death sentence. It's a matter of taking, and you talk about this also in one of your chapters, taking your power back, your personal power, and really just believing like that you can heal your body. And that, I think, is the beginning part. That's the start, being more open to, what is possible, the infinite possibilities in the quantum fields.
Exactly. I did work with a woman who had cancer. It's not the thing I work on the most. Obviously, I work with empaths, but I did work with a lady who had cancer, and she had what was pre-cancer in the second chakra. And so she was really scared because, this was a problem. So she had an operation scheduled to happen where she was going to have them take it out because they noticed that it would need to be taken out. So she came to me. And she says, can you help me? And I said, there is a process that I do. I call it the core awakening, and it can help, but you have to be dedicated to do this because it may take more than one time. Right. And she said, I'll do it every day. And I said, you might need to. And she said, okay. So for every day for a month, she did this process that I gave her. I led her through the process, then I gave her a recording so she could do it on her own. And then it was time for her to go to her scheduled appointment to have them take it out. Now, in the doctor's model there, we talked about models earlier, right? In the Newtonian model, it's not like check first. It's like you're here for the operation, that's what you're getting. Right. So that's what she got. They took everything out and she had no cancer whatsoever.
Wow.
Yes, I do need to say that she did other great things too. She changed her diet and did other things. Right. So, it's important to know, but at the same time, we did do this powerful experience, and she did it every day for an hour. And I'm positive that had a huge impact on her final experience, where they went in to take out cancer that didn't exist.
Oh, I know it did, because energy is a huge part of it. And I talk about this a lot, like different, energy is everything, everything, your organ, your finger, this water bottle I'm staring at, all the things. And again, it's just waking people up to realize that even though you can't see it, or maybe you can if you're like intuitive and you have that gift, but it's a matter of, kind of just believing it, like, even if you don't physically see it in front of your face.
Exactly.
So as we wrap this up, which, I mean, we could talk for hours and hours and hours, but
I know,
are there any words of wisdom that you would like to leave the listeners?
Absolutely. We are more powerful than we think we are. The power that we hold inside of us to shift and change our life into who we are capable of becoming is there. It doesn't have to be difficult. It actually can be easy, and it can be profound in your experience. I have changed my life from where I used to be to where I am today is a totally different me. And my clients have done the same thing. I teach classes and help clients and help them get to where they are supposed to get to in life. Many of my clients share with me all these good things about who they are becoming, not just what they're doing. And that's life altering. So the power is, the Star Wars is like the Force is with us, right? But really the Force is within us. The Force is within us. When we go within, that's where the answer is. The ultimate answer is inside, obviously.
I love that.
In my book.
Yes. So where can people find you? Where can they find your book and all your great work?
Absolutely. So my book is on Amazon. So you can go to Amazon and just type in my name, Joshua Bloom. It will show up. The ultimate answer is inside. You can also go to my website at beingquantum.com. That's beingquantum.com. And that's the best place to get more information about me.
Joshua, thank you so much. It was such a fun conversation.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed it. And the power of our conversation is the combination of our energy. Your energy is like amazing, and
Oh, thank you.
how we went back and forth. It was just perfect. I loved it, and I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. So, guys, if you like this episode, like, share, subscribe, share it with a friend you think needs, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.